Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, the review guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be covering the new Poppy record entitled I Disagree. At this point there are very few things in the industry, in her sound, in her look, that don't set Poppy apart in general. I would even argue that she doesn't even require an eclectic style to set herself apart from anyone else in her field. In the grand scheme of things, she has a fairly limited discography. Through her weird YouTube ventures, the fact that she's this odd performance artist, very cryptic, very vague, very interesting to watch, I think a lot of people were more so intrigued by the intrigue as opposed to just her. Without a doubt, it is undeniable that one of the reasons that she has so much success is the collaborations with Titanic Sinclair. This is a joint project. Despite the allegations of abuse, despite the allegations of her feeling trapped amidst all of this chaotic mess of an industry, I don't really want to comment on that. It's messy, you can have your tinfoil hats on, you can make your conspiracy theories, you can nitpick each of her videos and say that this is a reference, that is a reference, you can pick apart her own lyricism, even on this record, and you can probably find something hidden between the lines. There are countless videos being made about Poppy, about Titanic Sinclair, that break down each individual word, basically, in an attempt to kind of try to understand which side is telling the truth. And I personally, if I'm just being honest here, think the blame lies on both sides, because from my experience with these types of situations with other people, it really does seem like it is a combination of him being manipulative and victim blaming, and Poppy being stuck in that without really wanting to do anything. And I would honestly say that manipulation is a stage of abuse, mental abuse, so I really would blame Titanic Sinclair more than Poppy, but Poppy without a doubt has lied to her fans, has lied to herself, and has done a lot of bad things on her own in the whole mess of this. And are there jabs at Titanic Sinclair on this very album? Perhaps. It's the type of thing that if they hadn't split up and all of this shit would have come out, that I don't think without that knowledge we would have even assumed that some of these lyrics pointed towards that. Which might even further validate the claims. Certainly many of the key lyrical elements of the title track, I Disagree, contain wording and fairly blunt sentences that not only seem to directly pertain with things of at least a similar nature, but are so scarily pinpoint accurate to her allegations, more so confessions, that it's pretty much unavoidable. But I'm here to talk about the music, but I had to kind of address that, and I think it was kind of like that Maguire review I did last year. There's so much going on with it that I felt like I had to at least give my 2 cents and a little bit of background for those of you that don't know. So let's just let that side of the review kind of simmer down. Deep breaths. Musically, this album follows a trajectory that she has toyed around with on her past releases: metal, new metal, alt metal, industrial metal, kawaii metal, little bit of metalcore. Her ambient albums, her synth pop influences, none of that could rival her past studio-length album, Am I a Girl, and the subsequent EP that followed it the next year, Choke. But she is now on Sumerian Records, and with her new style, it was obvious, yeah, she is dropping a metal album. Not to even mention that Poppy's own decision to refer to this album as post-genre is more of an apt description than I think a lot of contemporary critics would like to admit is as sticky as it is. There are a couple things that were very crystal clear when she was dropping singles in anticipation for this record. Firstly, obviously, the fact that she has so much finesse when it comes to taking sounds from different shades of metal and non-metal, blending them together in a sound that is very unique, that is freakishly creative, but instantaneously accessible. A lyrical style that is infinitely more mature, thought-provoking, blunt, less vague at times, less cryptic at times. And when it comes to the sound of this record, there is a spectrum that I really do enjoy quite a bit. It's either blistering or it is shimmering. If I had to say, I would say that it is a version of Am I a Girl on crack. Like, take the title track, I Disagree, for example. I find a lot of the kawaii influences on this track to be very compelling. The riffage straight after every chorus slaps, and the very whispered, hushed delivery of the first verse that turns into a half-whispered, half-screamed, distorted hellscape in the second verse. This track might not be the most compositionally sound when it comes to ingenuity or anything like that, but you can't deny that this is one of the catchier tracks and one of the more hard-hitting tracks that she has ever released. released, and considering it was a single with the music video and all that, it was surprising just to hear her continue to go in this direction. And that's not even to mention that she had dropped Concrete before this track. That's saying a lot. And speaking of the track Concrete, it was the very first single, and it's poppy in her element. Strange, avant-garde, completely off of the hinges, but simultaneously firing all cylinders to make it just sound great. Blending electronics, having metal instrumentation, this twinkling section that will just randomly pop in. It almost sounds childish at times in that type of way. And the Rings of Saturn vibes, I understand that she's probably not influenced, but that one riff that goes really high, it reminds me a lot of something you could hear from Rings of Saturn, and I simply can't get that out of my head. Whereas Blood Money is one of the best tracks that Poppy has ever penned. Likely my favorite from her. The heavy riffs and the amazingly pummeling percussion alone are enough to leave my head spinning. Not to mention the overall industrial, crusty sound that this whole track entails. It sounds like heavy machinery going off. This gets heavy, so damn heavy. It is an extremely noisy track. I love the noise on this track. It's gonna be the type of thing, if you like noise rock or any sort of genre with noise in it, you'll enjoy this track quite a bit. And these spoken word bits add this ominous vibe. So when it comes to the progression that this track goes through, how is this not a gratifying track? The only sections that I do believe she drags just a tad would have to be some of the softer sections, some of the slower sections, because even though I have enjoyed some of her more ambient, more of her more low-key tracks in the past, I think here they're a little bit more underwhelming. A lot of the quieter and the quainter moments, like on the track Nothing I Need, as well as key moments of the last track. But they're not so distracting that they ruin the entire album, but they are things that I would be apt to either glaze over or just skip. Because in the past, even though she has been very eclectic, one thing about Poppy is she is a little bit consistent with her sounds, and considering that this is probably her most consistent album ever when it comes to this nu metal industrial sound, these tracks don't necessarily fit when they do pop on, and it does leave me scratching my head a bit like, I don't know if these tracks in particular fit, but these are very important moments for Poppy lyrically, and when it comes to her performance, she is definitely giving her all in her own delivery that is very vulnerable, very cracky. But many of the other tracks, like Anything Like Me, oh, that track is fun. That track is probably one of the funner tracks on the record, in my opinion. I just love the bouncing sound of the whole thing, and Bite Your Teeth is arguably the heaviest track on the entire record. Not sure why more people aren't mentioning that track. It is definitely one of my favorites. But overall, this is a concise project, and barring all of the Titanic Sinclair stuff, barring all of the things that are going on with Poppy in general, her signing to Sumerian Records might have been the best thing that could have happened to her, because I think this is my favorite project from Poppy in the past. Because even though I have enjoyed her eclectic style in the past, I think the one thing that has really prevented me from loving a Poppy project is her inability to make a project that felt cohesive from start to finish and didn't just feel like a jumbled up sound of all ideas. She really is paying mind to trying to make sure these songs flow, that the influences come together in a way that sound cohesive, that sound like they stick, that sound like one beast, and you don't even notice the little intricate details within these compositions of all these genres going into it, and I think that does pay a lot of heed to what she did on this record. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this record, even though there are a couple tracks that I'm just not that big of a fan of. I am going to be giving this album an 8 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new Poppy record? I disagree. If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss this record with you. Stay for the end screen. I'll link some videos that you might be interested in. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morse, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.